Savage. If you have not followed his Triple H.
Hello, what I might be here. I'm sorry. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm assuming everyone can hear me. I apologize. That sort of snuck up on me a little bit. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. As I had a few technical issues there, but I apologize. I think everything is all good. I'm just testing everything and making sure we are good. We are. Thanks for joining us tonight. Let me go ahead and switch some banners, switch some things around here. I was playing with a few things and realized we had a few minor issues, but thanks for watching tonight's episode 391, of Picks and Ponies, which is off to a rip-roaring start, as everyone can see. So we are here tonight to talk about Aqueduct and the late pick 5 this Saturday. They've got 2 huge stake races, but not only that, this is a very big show because we're going to be talking about a few things tonight. Not only that, we've got a very interesting rant to discuss, and then I wanted to discuss a few things as well. Little surprises for Pete and Paul also. So we got a lot going on tonight. Again, I apologize for the beginning of the show. We are live, so I can't change stuff around. I'm still trying to figure out some things on my end that are not really working very well, but we'll get all that figured out in just a bit. So I didn't want to be red here. Let me try to switch some things here. I'll tell you what, let me bring on my co-hosts, Pete and Paul, because they're going to straighten everything up here. We got a lot of people watching, by the way. Matt Miller, yeah, I get surprised by my own podcast. I've got the red background going on. I got a lot of things going on. We'll switch all that. Oh, look who's here. We got a new person, Jeffrey Van Leuven, I believe. Jeffrey Van Leuven. Hope I'm pronounced that correctly. Or Van Leuven. Hey, Matt, just finished reading your book. Great book. Thanks. Awesome. Appreciate that, Jeffrey. We got a lot of people here. We got Katie's here. A lot of people here. All right, let me bring on my co-hosts because they need to save the show already. We just started. Let me bring on first from the East Coast of Maryland, Mr. Pete Visco, and from the Saratoga Special and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mr. Paul Halloran. Guys, I don't know. We had little minor issues. Why don't you talk for a minute or two what's going on and see if I can change our background and whatnot.
Well, Paul, Pete, I just thought we had a new sponsor, the Kremlin.
Well, I missed the very beginning, so I didn't know it was happening. I came on and it was very bright red. It started burning my retinas or corneas or whatever those are. My question, Paul, is he mentioned we need to save this show. I mean, we're used to that. We saved the whole show as a whole and the network. So, I mean, what's so hard about saving just one episode, right? What do you think?
Well, it's been done before, Pete. Remember, we got record ratings the night that he couldn't get on the internet.
That is true. That probably was our number one show outside of like Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup. I think as far as shows go, that was probably the tops. So, but we'll figure it out. We're here to talk horses. Who cares what the colors are and everything?
Yeah.
They just want to hear the picks.
That's
they want
true.
to know who the winners are.
For some reason, I've got the betting and boozing background stuff, and I can't find our own things. But I do have our banners, and everything is good. Pete knows what I'm talking about, so I think
it's
okay.
I as we joke, it is a pain in the neck, some of the behind the scenes stuff while you're live. So
there we go.
There it is. Look at us.
We got there, and there we got that, and maybe I can.
Now we're very patriotic. We got a little red, a little blue, a little white. I mean,
absolutely,
we're America.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, guys, and I think that's going to be some of it, but unfortunately, some other stuff's a little bit jacked up, but that's okay. We can. We'll do. There we go. A little HHH in the top right. All right, we'll do the best we can here. I think we'll be okay. I'm not sure. I think the background's going to stay this red for now, guys, but that's fine. No big issues. Like I said, we've got a little red, white, and blue. Why not? We got a lot to talk about, guys, and some serious stuff. To be very honest, regarding horse racing, I'm not going to talk about world events. It's too depressing and other things right now. Or at least in our country, at least. I want to get to a lot of things regarding horse racing. And before we get into a special rant from Paul, I'm assuming, and Pete, I don't ask him what his rants are. I do have a feeling I know what it's going to be, tonight. And it's not going to be a short rant. I'm going to let him talk a little bit. We're going to talk after the rant, guys. We're going to have some few things. And I got a little surprise for you too, by the way, assuming everything works. That I did not prep you guys on. So, I'm full of surprises. So I'll see if I can work out. We can just go with the red background. That's fine. Everything else should be working. Okay, guys, let's just jump right in. So big weekend. The Kentucky Derby preps are cranking up. I don't know about you guys. Last week was a complete betting disaster for me, the Pegasus. I need to recoup a little bit, some cash, hoping to do that back at Gulfstream again this weekend and at Aqueduct. Small fields, Paul. Let's just cut to the chase. It's the middle of the winter. We're not going to have a big debate over it. Small fields, not easy to get horses in New York at this time of year. But I thought these fields, even though they were a little bit smaller in this pick 5 sequence, pretty competitive. I actually like this late pick 5.
Yeah, I agree. I know when Pete sent out a message when he started his handicapping about the first leg, and Pete, when I did my handicapping, Pete, I almost sent one back to you about the last leg because
it was
I didn't
funny.
think that was any bargain either, Pete.
I hadn't gotten there yet when I sent you the first message, so I agree with you 100% on that. But yes,
you're right, Howard. Look, it is what it is. Okay. Aqueduct is not going to be running 12 horse fields in January. Okay. Now Belmont might be running 8 horse fields with a synthetic option in January, in another year or so. And I'm not, I gotta just, the Gulfstream, that could be a whole other rant. In a 1 horse race on the Gulfstream to Peter or whatever the F they call it, I will absolutely pick the wrong horse. But that's another story for another day. I think you have to be in favor of Belmont putting it in to keep some turf horses in that part of the world at that time of year. So yeah, small fields, but I agree, Howard. I like a horse a lot in the sequence when we get to talking about the stakes races. But yes.
I am intrigued for sure. All right, guys. I think we are ready to go. Cross our fingers. Again, thanks for joining us. I'm going to say a few other things, guys, later in the show about the well, of course, we can listen to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Always do that. And our great website, which actually we're going to go to for a reason that Pete knows about later. That's one of the things I want to surprise our audience with. But hhhracingpodcast.com. We'll talk about the power picks and other things later, guys. Let's just jump right in here. Late pick 5. Here we go. On Saturday at Aqueduct, and it's coming up right now. All right, let me bring up our picks as well, which I should have, which I do. Perfect. There we go. Race 5. It starts at 2:45 Eastern, the late pick 5 on Saturday at Aqueduct. Starts with a maiden 25, field of 7. Now, let me bring you guys on screen a second. This is our 391st picks and ponies, but we've done many more shows than that. On other, we've called it different things. Let's just say, I'm just going to throw 600. I don't even need my calculator for this. Let's say we've done 600 shows where we've handicapped. All right. Because again, we've done a bunch of other shows. It wasn't called Always Picks and Ponies. Actually, let's go with 5. Let's say 500. So guys, in theory, we've handicapped about 500 times 5, 2,500 races. Pete, in terms of talent, out of 2,500, no disrespect to the horses or the trainers or the owners of these horses in the main 25, state bred, right? Is it? Yeah, state bred. Yep. Of the 2,500, if 2,500 was Flightline in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and 0 is whatever you might want to say, where would you rank this particular race that we're going to be handicapping right now?
I as I mentioned in our chat, this is probably in like the 5 to 6 range if we're talking about whatever you said. 2,500 is Flightline.
Wow, that might be high.
Yeah, I was going to say. Well, if we're talking horses, I would say the worst horse in this race. You never know. There might have been a horse or two. So I don't want to make a grand statement. The text I sent for these guys, I was like, I think I said something to the effect of the first leg of this sequence we're talking about. Maybe the worst race we've ever handicapped on the show. I actually sent 2 of the horses to my cousin and my friend Mike. I was like, look at these horses. And they're not even the worst. I mean, they're just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the buyers, the finishing, the distance lost by. It's a crazy race. But hey, the green that you can win on this race is the same green as you can win on Flightline in the Classic.
Sure is.
So who gives a crap? Let's just pick the winner.
I agree. This race is so good, Paul, that there is no buyer par. It's not available. It didn't register. So anyway, the buyer par, by the way, is right next to the right here. I'm highlighting right below the time there. And if it, let's just say it were 45, I'm just throwing a number. Just for people that are not familiar with DRF or what a buyer par means, that means the average winning race at this level is a 45. I'm not saying it is a 45. I'm just letting people know what that means. All right. I'm going 5.72. Paul's going 5.31. Somehow Paul and I have the same horse, although a low morning line horse. Pete's going 2.35. Pete, let's talk about the 2. Akaira. This horse has a whopping 19 buyer top, yet you're putting this Jorge Abreu trainee on top. Why?
Okay. Well, if you're looking for a convincing argument, you might not get one here, but
right.
A couple of things. So there was improvement from the first to the second race in terms of where the horse finished, how the horse ran from a buyer standpoint, from a time form. One thing, too, this horse has only run 2 races, and she's only been on a muddy and a good track. So hopefully we get her on, a little bit closer to a fast surface. I did not check any weather, Howard. I don't know if you have. I don't like to talk weather.
What do you think? I mean, come on. What?
Yeah.
It's going to be sunny and cool.
And cold, but is it? But go ahead.
Friday, tomorrow, it's Thursday night. I'm out of sorts.
Yes.
I apologize, everyone. I was all set up and ready to go, and then things went haywire like 10 seconds before the show. Tomorrow, they're supposed to get a decent amount of rain in New York tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't know if that's still the case. I checked the weather yesterday for New York. But Saturday's going to be clear, but because it's going to be colder, I don't know if we're going to fast track. I'm guessing there's going to be some moisture in it because obviously it doesn't dry nearly as quickly in the winter.
And again, I don't know if that should matter one way or the other with this horse, but it would be nice. I mean, it's just bad luck that on your first 2 races, you get an off track. The only things that I really liked, and I think the one thing to clean up, which is a detriment, is the horse can't break. And you could see the horse breaks way in the back. Yeah. But in the second race, at least was able to make up some ground, picked up Lasix the second race. And so maybe that moved her up a bit. And again, this is such a bad field that I'm looking for, if a horse can't get away, like in that last race, the first 2 finishers just sort of got on the lead and got away. And she was so far back, she wasn't catching them. So I wasn't expecting her to win watching the replay, but I thought she ran on well late. And again, if we can do that here, if you can solve the breaking issue a bit and just be in the race a little bit more, then I think maybe with a little bit of improvement can beat what I see as a lackluster field overall.
By the way, guys, Katie loves the color change. Maybe we just keep it. I don't know. We'll talk after the show. Anyway, I appreciate that, Katie. Sometimes the accidental things work better than the intentional. Yeah, I've got this horse third, Pete. I think we could see improvement. I mean, I like the jockey switch. Savachi's really having a solid meet, almost 20%, Paul. Coming down from Woodbine. Paul, here's my theory. I'll just talk first about number 5, Dynamite and Diamonds, 8-5 morning line. I want horses on the lead in this race. I mean, this horse is dropping precipitously. Nice word there for you, Paul. Precipitously. Been working on that. Look, she looks fastest early by far. I don't see any reason why she won't get the lead. And I think there's not much to tell Severa, Paul. Just go and bottom out the field. I mean, if she breaks, I think she'd be pretty tough to beat, despite the fact she's lost her last 3 races by a combined 35 lengths approximately.
Well, Pete, you'll like this. I kept this simple. I know I rely on time form a lot more since we've been doing this, and it's certainly it was an underutilized resource by me. And if you look at the time form, it says this horse gets a pretty easy, clear lead. And in this field, Pete, I said, I am not going to complicate matters. If you tell me your horse is going to be 2 on top at the first turn, let these other 0 buyer horses come and try to get them. Very simple.
Yep, I agree. I'm sorry, Paul. I didn't mean to step on your toes.
Yeah, no, I don't mean to. Howard, I thought you would like the race because there's not 1 but 2 horses coming off the vaunted 0 buyer.
And I've got one of them. I think one of them can absolutely win. We're going to talk about it right now.
Of course you do.
Oh, but hey, the angle's actually been decent for me over the years and on the
Yeah.
show too. I don't know what to expect, guys, from the one. I'm not going to talk about Broken Zipper. I'm sure the horse will take some money because Melanie Giddings is a solid trainer, and I mean the horse has no pedigree, no works, and is in a horrible race to start. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, she doesn't have to be a world beater to win this race. Guys, I am absolutely fascinated with Evelyn's War, the number 7. I cannot believe this. Well, I was going to say I can't believe the horse is 20-1. I think that's probably correct. And David Aragona knows what the hell he's doing. There's one reason. I'm going to let you guys figure it out. What is the one reason in general why you think I like number 7, Evelyn's War? If you are in the chat, why does Howard like Evelyn's War other than the ha ha he zero buyer? Peter, Paul, either one of you. There's something that sticks out to me like a sore thumb in a positive way.
Ooh.
2 double move the blinkers and Lasix at the same time.
That would be the number 2 and 2A reason. There's actually a better reason.
And there's a quick work. The most recent work wasn't bad.
Look at these works, guys. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, look at these works. Now, I've got some horses for Delphi that I have small ownership that are working on this train track right now at Belmont, guys. It's slow. Okay, it's the winter. They put some chemicals on it to make sure they can continue to, run on it. The maintenance is different in the winter. I know for a fact that some good horses are working like 50. We're going to see one of them that I like for the Kentucky Derby a little bit later on in this show. I'm assuming the blinks came on the last 2 guys, but look at those works. Like out of nowhere. Whoops, sorry. Out of nowhere, guys. We've got works that are 18 best to 165 on the 18th. And then on the 26th of January, second best to 178. This horse?
Yeah.
I mean, guys, this horse is either going to lose again by 50 or maybe upset the field. I have no idea what to expect. I'm sure the blinkers and Lasix will help. Maybe these were in blinkers, Paul. Maybe these horses were in blinkers and completely woke this horse up. Now, you could say, well, why wouldn't Rudy put this horse in a main special weight? Maybe he has absolutely no idea himself how this horse is going to run. And so they're just, putting him in a realistic spot. But guys, those 2 works on the bottom of the screen, I mean, stick out like a sore thumb, no?
Honestly, from the way I've thought about it, was what I wouldn't mind as someone who likes the 2 is if somehow the blinkers and those couple works are maybe indicators that this horse will go to the lead and will actually contest that 5 a bit somehow. Now, looking at the PPs, that's a big far cry from being in almost dead last in 2 races all the way around to now contesting the lead. But hey, maybe the blinkers, maybe the Lasix, maybe the works that are being put into her, maybe that's enough. And I would like to see that. And then maybe she folds and my 2 gets something to close into. That's what I would like.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well,
in this field, I'm not going to make fun of you or argue against any angle to try and grab any. Like, you guys picked the 5, and this is the kind of race where, do you really want an 8-5 shot in a dog race like
not.
this? That's the thing.
I mean, if the 7 was a Morning Glory, guys, and always show good works, I would completely discount this horse. I would like, this horse has no chance. But the works out of nowhere are very interesting to me. Anyway, real quick, either one of you about the 3, and let's move on to the next race. Looking to Rock. Who wants to talk about this horse a little bit?
Well,
okay. Well, they've got to look at a Rock in seconds. Not much to say. Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, same reason I picked the 5. 5 was relatively forward last time, and the 3 was on the pace and a 6 for a long race 2 races ago. His finished second a couple of times, But Howard, back to your 7, you talked about the placing. One reason Rudy wouldn't run him in a maiden special is there's 0% chance she's going to get claimed here. So why not run the easier spot?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a no risk spot.
Paul, who's this jockey? I should know the answer. I'm the host, but I don't know. It's not an apprentice. I'm not familiar with this jockey.
Well, it looks like I am not either, and it looks like brand new. Only 2 starts last year and 4 this year. So,
by the way, can I? You talked about the 3 real quick. It was a funny thing because the 3 just ran on the 25th, so it's coming back in 7 days. That 3 and the trainer, whose last name I'm going to butcher, so I wasn't going to pronounce it, Chichakli,
Yeah.
1 for 55 from 0 to 7 days in, bringing a horse back 0 to 7, but then 8 to 10 days. So you add 2 more days, and now we're talking 4 for 23, 6 for 23 on the board, a little bit better, but 1 for 55. And that horse is coming back in 7. In case, I know I missed that sometimes, in case anybody missed that horse is really wheeling back pretty quickly.
Ed Burke, it says, good call, Chris. And maybe Chris Couples is right. Maybe just play the pick 4. I mean, look, I wouldn't blame anyone. But if I look at horse at 20 to 1 morning line, that's going to be, in my prediction, I'm going to say 10 to 1. I'm definitely going to play the pick 5 and use that horse. I'm fascinated to see what the odds are of the 7, because the money will show, guys. Those works are real. The money's going to show on that.
Yeah, somebody will know if that horse is looking good. Yeah, somebody will know,
doubt.
and that'll definitely get bet down.
Let's go to race 6, guys. This is the first of 2 stake races in the late pick 5 Saturday Aqua. It's the Toboggan. 7 furlongs, 175,000, older males. We've seen a lot of these horses run before. One particular horse I know Paul's a huge fan of because he picks the damn thing every time, and sometimes he actually wins, sometimes not. And let's just say that he's bred from a state that you wouldn't necessarily connect with horse racing. This is a field of 7. It's very competitive. Let me go ahead and bring up the banners right now. The morning line favorite, I think I said race 7. It's race 6. I don't know. Anyway, morning line favorite is the number 4, Coastal Michigan, the West Virginia bred, who's been just what a career this 6-year-old gelding's had. Jeff Runco, Boca Chica, the regular rider. And look at what we're doing, guys. We're all going to West Virginia. I'm going 4-6-3. Paul's going 4-1-6. Pete's going 4-6-2. Pete and I are very, very similar, just different horses in third. Paul, I know you're the quasi vice president of the Coastal Mission fan club. I have picked against him in tougher spots. This is a big drop down for him, even though it is a stake. We all like him. Tell us why the punters should like Coastal Michigan from West Virginia. Coastal Mission.
Coastal Mission. Let's get his name
keep
right.
Saying Michigan.
Say
You've
we
said
like
Michigan
him.
multiple times.
Christ.
Yeah.
Coastal,
Jesus.
but why is he coastal? It's West Virginia. Anyway.
I could
mission to
if you
get
want,
to
I will explain that if you want.
Do you actually know?
Coast Guard connection due to the former whatever. There's a reason for it. I've written about this horse several times. I love this horse, and easiest spot. I mean, the Cigar Mile came back very good, as we know, and this horse has run one race again. Did not run against West Virginia breds last year. This is an open company horse, so forget about where he's bred. Second graded stakes placed all over the place. Won the 49er on this track in October. Fourth in a decent fourth in a good Cigar Mile. I really, really like this horse in this race, which comes as no surprise to anyone.
No, I like him too. And his buyers actually aren't that much better than a lot of them. I just feel like he's definitely the class of this race. And there is enough speed in here, I think, Pete, to set up for Coastal Mission. I don't mind the turn back either. I think there's a lot of things to like. My only concern with this horse, Paul, and Pete, I'll let you touch on this. It's been a long campaign. I mean, he's been running consistently since March 2nd, 24. 2 slow works, at Charlestown, like maintenance works. Slight concern, Pete, or am I just we shouldn't be worried?
I mean, I don't worry about either of those things you mentioned because the works since the last race have been pretty good. You had 247s. I mean, they're 36-3, 36-2. They're not exactly 39s or something, so they're not super fast. But this isn't a horse that I don't think.
I don't like the shortness of them.
But this is a horse that I don't think necessarily at this point, after running so many races, maybe, and I don't know squat about training horses, obviously, but maybe doesn't need anything too major to sharpen the horse up. The horse is just in good form. Yeah. He seems to be ready to roll. He runs just like we like it very frequently, which we love. Yes. And he always runs his race. And I mean, he ran 4th to 3 pretty high quality horses in the Cigar. It's like grade 1, easy grade 1 level horses. So I think everything is to like. And do you think 5-2? Do you think 5-2 is we're going to get 5-2? You think it'll go down from there?
9-5.
That's what I was assuming. Yeah. I was surprised at the 5-2.
Not even, Paul? Lower than that?
No, we were not getting 5-2 would be great, but I don't
Yeah,
think so.
5-2 is a win bet for sure on this horse. I think in this race.
Pete, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you know where Nelson Avenue is? Pete Visco. Do you know where Nelson Avenue is?
I do not know where Nelson Avenue
Paul,
is.
you and I know. Oh, look at that! Look at that look of disdain from Paul Halloran. Paul, teach the youngster where's Nelson Avenue?
I know where it is. I believe it's in Saratoga Springs.
Yes, sir. Sure is.
All I know is where King's Tavern is, Paul. That's the only thing I know in Saratoga Springs. I don't care about anything else.
That would be on Union. That would be on Union.
That would be Union. That's all I need to know.
Which runs perpendicular to Nelson.
Perfect.
So I'll find it next time.
That'd be a 90-degree angle for you math students.
That was a good math term, wasn't it, Professor?
I'll tell you what, that tip my hat. Pete, maybe we're going to find Nelson Avenue in the winner's circle, though. Tell us why that could happen.
I mean, look at ever since the claim by Wayne Potts, look at the form. I mean, you can't really, again, that Cigar Mayo where Coastal Mission actually ran a lot better is the only real knock. But otherwise, I mean, this horse is just in super good form right now. One thing, there's a couple races. Does this horse really just move up a bit in the slop? Has 3 wins. 3 of the 6 wins have come on wet tracks. That last race, it wasn't much. I mean, the Buyer popped, the Time Form popped. It wasn't exactly a super tough race. And Coastal Mission has gotten the best of this horse twice. Yes. So when you look at it, you go, is this horse really going to turn the tables here in a field that's not that big? So you don't assume like traffic will be trouble or Coastal Mission. I feel like Coastal Mission handled, even the one you're going to show right now, I thought Coastal Mission kind of took care of business in a pretty solid way. So I find it hard to turn the tables, but I wouldn't look at a cold exacta or something, or even a Dutch exacta for sure, because this horse otherwise is in just such good form right now.
It's weird, Paul, because I don't know if the 7 furlong turnback is going to help this horse or not. In theory, here you see Coastal Mission, the likable gray going by. In theory, it would help him, but won't the pace be faster in a 7 furlong race than a mile race?
Yes, a little bit. But, remember, the 1 turn mile, I mean, the 7 furlong and the 1 turn mile is a different animal than the 7 furlong and the 2 turn mile. But yeah, I do think it will be a tick faster. Yes.
Yep, he might be loose though, so we'll see. Very interesting. Jeff
Depends what the 1 does,
to
right?
Let everyone know the track is located on the corner of Union and Nelson Avenue. That would be Saratoga. There you go. Thank you, Jeffrey. Appreciate that. Let's quickly talk about. I don't know. We all have 3 different horses, so I'll tell you what. Because I want to move the show along, I'm just going to show some horses and make quick comments. Maximus Meridius, the rail horse. I think this horse has to go, guys. I think Sanchez is going to go. I'm not sure he's best on the lead. I know he won last time. He might be a big thorn in the side of Nelson Avenue. And guys, if you look at his numbers, they absolutely fit. I think 7 furlongs is really the only question with Maximus Meridius, in my opinion. Full Moon Mattis had some trouble last time. I'm sorry, Paul. Go ahead. You want to say something?
Well, I was going to say, Butchie Reed, he ships to New York with a purpose. Last 5 years, 12% win, but 55% in the money. His horses typically run, and I have very good confidence in him when he ships. So I will be. Yep. I think that's the cold exacta, Pete.
Yeah, I like this horse too. I was with you there. I thought was working well going into that last race, beat a few of the horses in here, and then came back out and has been working really well since. 3 of the lifetime 4 wins were on wet tracks. So again, if it comes up a little wet on Saturday, that could move this horse up as well. So something to keep an eye on.
2, 3, and 4 all in this race. Who would like to discuss the stretch run here? You see the names on the screen there. 2, 3, and 4 coming out of this race.
Yeah, I don't know if I think I watched this replay, but now
Maximus is on the lead, being pushed by Full Moon Mattis, and the 3 is in behind in the teal. Running,
the teal, right? Yeah. So this is just sort of a stretch run where right here it looks like you would anticipate that Full Moon Madness would just go by, but Maximus Meridius was pretty strong and held on and kicked back. So you don't know if it's a hang job or if it was a Maximus Meridius just being pretty game down the lane.
If he can translate the numbers to 7, I'm a little skeptical about the 7, but actually his buyers are better than Coastal Mission, guys. So we'll see. Full Moon Mattis was the one that couldn't go by. The 1, I don't love him in this spot very much at all, to be honest. I think Castle Chaos is sort of the fuzzy for me here. 10-1 morning line. This horse has plenty of back class, guys. I'm concerned about the layoff. I don't like 7-year-olds off of a 6-month layoff after the horse only ran 3 times over the summer. There's too many layoff lines for me. But I mean, if this horse jumps up and wins, I mean, he likes 7 furlongs. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I respect Falcone. You guys don't have him in your top 3. I'm assuming, at least Pete, you probably have him somewhere, I would assume.
No? I had the 3. Yeah, I had it sort of at the B. I didn't
Okay.
really differentiate too many. I only tossed one horse completely here. Can I mention one thing on the 2, just as a little bit of a handicapping angle?
Yep, and then we'll move on.
So the one thing I did like for this race, this horse seems to run well 3rd race in the form cycle. So if you scroll down a bit, the 3rd Lifetime race was a nice buyer. You see the buyer got to an 82, had a big win, 100 time form. Then after that layoff, the 3rd one was another big win with a 91 buyer. And then now we're on the 3rd of this cycle. So I was looking at that, and that was something that jumped out to me. And I was like, well, maybe this one, again, that doesn't mean is going to be able to hold at 7 or is going to be able to hold off a horse as good as, say, Coastal Mission. But if the odds float up on this horse a bit, maybe this one's just ready to run a big one. So that was an angle that I don't know if people always take a look at. But
I think if it's wet, it would help that horse, in my opinion, for sure. Yeah. So that's interesting, Pete. I appreciate that thought there. Let's go on to race 7, guys. Race 7 is at least what I would consider is the feature of the day. I think most people would as well. It's not graded, but this is the Withers. Now, we got to talk real quick. The Withers, let me bring up the field, and I'll leave us on the screen also here in just a second. Okay. So the Withers, guys, which is race 7, 3rd leg, is points for the Kentucky Derby. We are now in the 20-point stage. So the Withers has the following for the first 5 places, ladies and gentlemen: 20 for first, 10 for second, 6 for third, 4 for fourth, and 2 for fifth. So 20 and 10 are the big ones, guys. So this is absolutely going to matter. This is points for the Derby. I don't know if we have any Derby horses in here, but we'll see. This is a field of 7. They're going a mile and 1/8, and I believe, unless you guys can correct me, I think this is the longest mile and 1/8. Sorry, it's the longest 3-year-old Kentucky Derby prep since the Remsen in the entire country. Right. I believe, right? Yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah.
On dirt. I mean, on dirt. Yeah. So they're going a mile and 1/8. You like to think these horses want that distance. Pretty wide open field, as you can see. And there's one horse, guys, that sticks out to me for obvious reasons. And that is the number 4, Uncle Jim. This was my Kentucky Derby future bet wager for, I won't say the podcast because we had different betting situation this year. But for me, selfishly, Uncle Jim did not run very well his second start. But, and we'll talk about Uncle Jim, he did lose to a next out winner who actually is better than people think. So we'll see, guys. The morning line favorite is number 6, Captain Cook, for Dutro and Franco. I have relatively strong opinions in this race. Whether I'm correct or not, I don't know. And you guys know who I put on top, right? I mean, come on, really? No.
Nope.
No, I did not. Trying to be honest with myself and the bettors out there, guys. I'm going 6-4-7. Paul's going 5-7-4, and Pete is going with me 6-5-4. Paul, you're a little bit an island on your own. I do not have Mo Quality anywhere. Pete's got him in second. You've got him on top. Why will he be Mo Quality than everyone else? Bam! How about that one?
No, you're making a comeback, albeit a belated one.
All right.
My opinion is I don't like the 6. Well, let me rephrase that. I want to beat the 6 as the favorite in this spot. I think that big number on a sloppy track, bred for sloppy track, stretching out in distance. I really like the 5 as a horse. He's probably not as good as I think he is, but because I liked him last time in that race, and as it said, no match. Didn't have any real excuse about not winning, but ran a solid second. I think that was an okay field. So, my play here is against the 6, and I think the 5, and of course I always root for Christopher Davis as well.
Paul, tell me what you think about this stretch. I don't think Mo Quality wants to listen. The horse can win, okay? I don't think the 5 wants distance. Number 1. I know, then why would he be in here? I'm probably wrong about that, but I didn't like him in this race, and I do not like the lead switch situation here, Paul. He's on his wrong lead. The length of this entire stretch and made up like no ground. I don't like the vibe on this horse. I could be completely wrong. Your thoughts on this stretch run visually? He's the 5 here.
Yeah, well, I think he's, a little goofy in his 4th career start. Yeah, I hear you. But you know what? He does come running again at the end for whatever it's worth. He was green inside the 16th pole and still kept running and got up for second. So you could be right. Certainly could be right about the distance, but, he might be more forward going longer and might be a little tougher being more forward.
I would assume Kendrick, he might be putting him on the chooch, as they like to say.
Well,
I'm trying to
that's
remember
what
the time
Kendrick.
form said.
Yeah, that's my only. Nothing against Kendrick, but I was kind of, hoping that this might be our friend Junior's Derby horse, and obviously he does not think it is because he is not coming up for the race. So
Yeah, they've got him 3rd. I think Kendrick's can be more forward than that, but we'll see.
agree.
Pete, I understand what Paul's saying, and like I said, it's a guessing game here. I just no one's breeding in this race sticks out to me a lot, other than my 4 personally. For a mile and 1/8, I mean the 5 we could go through it, but I don't want to take the time to. People can look for themselves. The 5 doesn't really have great like 9 furlong breeding. I'm not sure the 6 does either, but I do like the improvement, and I think he's going to be forward, and maybe this horse is just getting better, and maybe he'll go to the lead. I don't have a lot of confidence with Captain Cook, but there's a lot of them I just don't really like in this race, frankly.
No, me neither. And I actually, the top couple of horses, and you mentioned it a bit. I had distance questions about the 6. I had distance questions about the 5. I want to see if there's another one. Regardless, I thought that there were just distance questions, and now we're going all the way to a mile and 1/8. So we're not going from those 7 furlongs to a mile and a 16th. This is a big change. So I'm with you, though. That was my concern. The thing I liked about Captain Cook, I thought the debut, and again, we don't have to look at replays for these, but just got knocked around early, then rushed up, was wide. I thought the debut was sort of just a throwaway, the way the race shook out. Then it goes to the Dutro barn, who he sometimes turns around horses quite a bit. And I thought in that second start, again, it was on the slop. If we look up on the right of the screen, it's got a 409 Tomlinson. Paul mentioned that this is a wet breeding, and that was a wet track, and that maybe moved him forward. It wasn't exactly a big field, a good field, but he beat it like he was supposed to. Again, I don't love the race, and I just thought this one could work out a really good trip with Manny. I think can sit right off the speed, or like you said, maybe even get to the top depending on who goes. So there wasn't a ton. I did have a stat, Dutro, 38% wins, 69% the money, sprinter route on dirt at Aqueduct specifically in like the past 9 months or so. So something that he's comfortable stretching his horses out. So maybe he could stretch this one beyond what the breeding is telling us it can do.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of strong opinions here. My strong opinion on Uncle Jim, and I'm not going to show the last replay, guys. It was a weird race, okay, for Uncle Jim. I think he's going to be better sitting a little bit off the pace. There was a big scratch, if you guys remember. I think I talked about that race a little bit, on the show. There's a big scratch that was supposed to push Cyclone State, and I think Giroux had to put this horse closer than he wanted to be, and was up close to a legitimate pace, guys. 46 going a mile in December. Now Cyclone State, who won the race, came back and won again, guys. He won the Jerome by 3 with an 84 buyer, getting pushed again. So it's not like he lost to a bum. I think Uncle Jim lost to a pretty good horse here. I'm hoping Uncle Jim breaks fine. Loscano just sort of puts him, I'd say, more mid-pack and lets him make the run that he made in his debut. The fact that Cox puts him here, guys, in a stake gives me confidence. He could have easily put him in N1X again. I don't think this is one of Cox's best horses in his barn, because his top horses are in Florida and Oaklawn. So to be very honest, I don't have real high hopes for him, winning the Derby. I mean, I'm sure he can get to the Derby. He's going to have to improve a lot to be a factor. But but I think the distance is going to help him, and he can get points here. I think he can win this race. I just don't see any killers in this race. He's got to improve. I just don't think the trip is what he wanted last time.
The note that I had was I thought that I think you said everything correct there, where I don't think what he had to do last time was his game. I think he's more of a mid-pack to further back closer, and I think that sapped his kick. Being too close, the pace wasn't hot, but it was decent enough to where I think he just didn't like being that close to it.
Yeah.
And
it was color-coded red, Pete. So
go ahead, Paul.
Yeah,
it was for sure. What do you got, Paul?
I raised my hand now. I'm trying to be polite. Howard, does it concern you that Florent Giroux is opting to ride in 2 Louisiana-bred stakes races at Delta Downs worth $100 and $150 versus a $250,000 Derby prep?
Yes. Now
that's the right answer, by the way.
That doesn't mean I'm not going to bet Uncle Jim in this race.
No, I understand.
I like him in this
but that's
race.
the right
like
answer.
I just said, I admit this might be a Derby pick that doesn't work out for me. I don't love him right now.
No, I'm just saying that's I said it about my horse with Junior not coming up, but I just checked Giroux, and it's not like he's in a $250,000 race at Oaklawn. He's going down to Delta Downs to ride in Louisiana bred stakes. I mean, that's
maybe he just doesn't want to run around in the cold, Paul, and he just want it's a little warmer down there.
By the way, Pete, it's been almost as cold at Fairgrounds the last few weeks.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, 8 inches of snow. I mean, it's been
we'll see.
All right, guys.
Howard, you're right about one thing. I hope for your sake that Uncle Jim is a Derby horse, but at this point, I would say there's a chance that this race is not going to produce the Derby winner.
Only one thing, Paul? That's it?
I'm trying to be deferential to my favorite uncle.
All right. I think it's time to move on, guys. Let's move on to race 8, shall we? Race 8's a nice optional allowance, 62.5, going 6 furlongs, small field to 6. Pretty, oh no, wow, look at this morning line where Data we're going. He doesn't even know where to go. In fact, he's got She's a little edgy. Wow. As the 5-2 morning line favorite, an 8-year-old in for the 62.5, Rudy and Silvera. Let's see who we're going with, guys. Right there. I'm going 2.54. Look at this. Wow. Paul's going 2.51. Pete's going 2.41. We are all going with not only the New York bred, but Katie Davis and David Duggan, 9-2 morning line. This horse is the second longest shot on the board. Boy, give me some of that, guys. I'd be happy. Paul, why do we like Sunday Girl who's going to try to win on a Saturday?
Well, I think the last race is good, obviously. I don't want to overstate the obvious, put up a big number. And the thing I like about it, and Pete, you talk about this a lot, is, this horse has been on the lead 4 times and right off the lead in her other race and did it in a different way last time. There were 10 horses, but still only 4th and put up a big number. David Duggan is good off a win. I'm sure you guys checked 18% the last 5 years. Of course, we love Katie Davis, the most enthusiastic person on the racetrack. And
rating kindly in behind, Paul. Rating kindly in behind.
Yeah, but she does set a good trip there, and but you could see when the running starts. She is running away from them, and that's a N1X race, 92. That's a decent race, and I think you hit it, Howard. Looking at Aragona, his lines, and I think he's as good as anyone. For him to have that tepid of an opinion in the race, I think it shows that it is wide open, and I'd love to have the second longest shot.
Yeah, I love when horses can change their style, Pete. I've talked about it all the time in this show, and she rated kindly. I don't see any reason why Katie won't do that again, or at least shouldn't do that again. I mean, this horse should be forward, but not too forward. She should sit a great trip. She's improving. She's worked several times, twice since the last. I have no knocks on this horse at all. My only concern is if the track comes up wet. I'm not sure she loves the wet. She's only done it twice. She was better last time in the wet off the layoff. It's a small concern. I'd prefer a dry track, but I'm going to go Sunday Girl anyway, Pete.
Yeah, it was actually funny because without thinking about the weather in too much detail, when I was handicapping, I liked the fact that this horse was 4 for 4 on fast dirt. So if we got fast dirt, I thought that moved this horse forward. But
Hmm.
again, the 2 losses on wet tracks were in the mud. I don't think it's going to be muddy because there's not going to be rain on Saturday. Okay,
You want
Chris
to read
Couple
that from
said,
Chris
yeah,
Couples,
I
by the
will read
way?
it.
Yeah.
Chris Couple said, I do like the 2, but we'll say be careful. That horse tripped out last time on one of the heaviest rail bias days ever. And I think that's a good point, Chris, but the fact that she's done pretty good damage in other races, and that wasn't like, oh wow, why did she win this time and the rest of the races weren't as good, even though it was her best buyer, her best time form. So maybe that moved her forward. But still, it was her first time in open company. She worked out a good trip. But again, this isn't a big field. So maybe a
Right.
good trip won't be that hard to come by here as
Yep.
well. I like that Pratt rode the horse in Saratoga. I usually don't get mixed up in that crap, but Pratt jumped on for a win at one point. So that must mean that at least
Yeah.
he thought there was something there. I just think there's a lot to like, and the price I was surprised. I like this price if we can
Totally agree.
somehow get that.
I'm just going to quickly mention one other horse, and I want to move on to the last race, guys. If Golden Degree is ready, the 4, I have her third because I don't know what to do with her. She could run away with this field. I just don't like Linda's not great. Actually, it's a smaller layoff than I thought. Sorry. This horse was a vet scratch, guys, on January 5th. And by the way, I talked about this before. Some people don't know. If you go to the top, use the RF, ladies and gentlemen. You go to the top, click on statistics there at the top. Hopefully you can see my banner there, top right. And then there's a bunch of things. There's a scratch board. It's probably hard to see right now, but if you squint and you look, I can't make it bigger, everyone. Golden Degree, there is January 5th, private vet illness. So that is not good. That is a concern for me. That's one of the reasons why I didn't have this horse in the top 2, guys. We'll see. It is Lascano for Linda. This horse has a ton of early speed, but isn't the 1 going also? I mean, the 1 has to
That
go.
was the note that I had on that one, Howard,
I don't know.
was
Yeah.
the Golden Degree, all 3 wins were wire to wire, and I just wasn't sure she was going to get the lead here. So if that was my real knock on that one, but I do think if that one clears though, I think and can get on the lead, I think she's definitely got a shot.
No doubt about it. Let's go on to the last race, guys. Last race, and then make sure you stick around because we're going to spend a good 20 minutes or so, I would say, after the last race here to talk about a few important things. So please don't go anywhere. The last race I'm going to bring up on the screen of the late pick 5. We'll just talk about it briefly. Is race 9. It's a 1.125 for claimers of the 16,000 variety. Moreline favorite is the number 3. Portos. There's 3 8-year-olds and a 7-year-old in this race. So this is for the veterans, shall we say. You got I'm sorry, I thought I said Portos the Moreline favorite. I apologize. It's Bold Victory, the Ontario bred, 8-5, the 8 horse on the outside. I was very surprised to see that low line from David Aragona. I handicapped before the Morelines came out. I'm going 8-3-4. Paul's going 3-8-2. And Pete is going 2-3-8. Pete's going to go with the youngster, the 4-year-old Jansen, Lakeman, and Franco, 6-1. Talk about Jansen for a minute here to, I guess, quote unquote, upset this field, Pete, in the finale.
Yeah, it's funny, Paul. You mentioned that this one wasn't exactly the cream of the crop either. When I went through, I had no A's. When I went through and I sort of label each horse as I'm going through, I had no A's at first, and then I landed on the 2. From a figure standpoint, so if you're a figure player, or if that's the first thing you look at, this one is definitely behind, and I think is going to need a step forward. Is going to need some of the other horses to come back. But a couple of things I liked: 2 for 2 going the 9 furlongs, and again, that's not exactly the easiest distance necessarily. So I just like that this horse has been successful there. The last 2 races, getting a little bit better, and it was coming back to this company. So it took a long time to break the maiden. Then they jumped up to claiming 25, took a beating, but then dropped back down to this level or this level close enough, I should say. And this horse turned back around again and now is running well. Now we're at the preferred distance. And I think just based on the way the trip should set up from a sort of a time form standpoint, I think this horse can sit just off. I think their speed on the 1 hole And I think this horse could maybe sit just right off of it. And if he's good enough, which again, from a figure standpoint, I'm not sure he is, but if he can move up a bit, I think he can work out a good enough trip. And Manny Franco, the one last thing I'll say is Franco's on this horse. You see on the screen, he's got a win, a pretty nice second, and then another win with Franco. And Manny likes to win the last race of the day in New York. So there's a few things I like, but I think the 6-1 is a price you'll get because the figures don't match up with some of the others in the field.
Yeah, I think you're going to get a price there. Paul, as you talk about the 3 very quickly, how much does a win in condition claimers versus open claimers? That's my issue with the number 2. I agree with everything that Pete said. I think there's a pretty sizable difference between horses that are in for the condition and non-winners of 2 compared to open 16. Does that matter much to you, Paul?
I think I agree with you. But aren't we conditioned here too? Never won 3 or not won in a year?
It's not on here. Sorry. I'm sure you're correct. Yes, go ahead.
Never
Well,
won
in the
3
summary
or
of the
not
race.
won. Yeah.
Never won 3 or so.
Okay. Well, I guess a lot of these are not coming out of condition races anyway, or higher class. Go ahead, Portos, Paul.
I can't resist a 2 for 38 horse. Can I to close the day, Pete?
And an 8-year-old and a top.
And I will tell you that the 2 co-owners are from one of them's from the city in which I live, and one is from 2 towns over.
Oh, there you go.
But no, look at. I told you what I thought at the beginning, right? When Pete was talking about the first, I think this is obviously a better race than the first race, but Matt Miller had put in the chat, good point about, no need to play the pick 5 if you hate the first race that much.
Yeah.
I will further whittle that down to why not just play the pick 3 with the middle 3 and, watch a movie or something.
How about that from Cutera at the bottom, by the way, Paul? That can you read that? Because I didn't. I just caught it now.
I will read
Thanks,
it,
Matt, for joining the show. By the way, Matt Cutera of Adelphi Racing, proud sponsor.
You'll have to take my word for it. I was about to say that exact same thing, but you said we're going to move on to the next race, and I never like to hold back the show. But yeah, private vet illness scratch is could be 100% legit or 0% legit and anything in between. Obviously, the trainer has the discretion to scratch the horse. So I agree with Matt. I wouldn't read a whole lot into it.
Guys, very quickly on Bold Victory. Just seems like the class has been an open 20. I don't mind the distance switch. Just looks fastest. I don't love him. I know he's got it looks like a dead closer, but these fractions have been so much faster he's been riding. I don't think he's going to be last in this race. I think he's more mid-pack, no matter what time form says. And he has a whopping 5 wins, guys, in this race. So a lifetime compared to some others. So I'm going to chalk out in the last race with Bold Victory. I'm not overly proud of it. I don't.
8 to 5 is tough on like a deep. If the horse does get stuck in the back, 8 to 5 is tough to swat. That's the only thing. You're like, really, I'm going to take 8 to 5 on a horse that might be in the back in a garbage race like this. No offense to Aqueduct or the horses or the connections.
No, I'm sure they don't take offense to that guy. Helium in the race, guys. Helium won the Tampa Bay Derby. How about that?
That horse. That all the air got let out of.
Whoa! Wow.
Helium ran
Cheers,
in the 2021 Kentucky Derby.
Yes, he did.
This is a topic that we don't discuss enough. What has Helium done since running in the Kentucky Derby?
Has not won a race.
No, you're wrong. He's won one in 23 starts.
No bueno.
One-off outlier race.
No bueno. Paul, you got a best bet in race 6. You're going with the 4. Oh, of course, it's going to be Coastal Mission.
Cold double. Ice cold
and
double.
Cold double. Ice cold 4, 5, race 6 to race 7. Pete is going to go to race 7 with a double 6 with 2 ice cold there. That is, he likes a Sunday Girl on the back end with, I can't remember the name of the horse in the,
It's the Withers horse, right?
The Withers, right? The Withers horse. And you like Sunday Girl win bet on Sunday Girl. I like that as well.
I really like that one. Yeah.
I like Sunday Girl also, but I'm going to use a double, Pete. I'm going to go race 8. I'm going to play a double 2 into 3, 4, 8. I'm going to use Helium. Why not? Maybe he's got a little air left in him. He's one of the few horses that looks like in the last race, guys, could actually be relatively up close and stay there. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe your 2 is better than I think, Pete, in the last race. I'm going to go 2 with 3, 4, 8 as my best bets. All right, guys. Before we're going to get to the rant, we got a few quick things I want to talk about. First of all, I'm very excited to bring something up. And Paul, you don't even know this. How about that? We have a change in our website. Davey Lane, as most people know, is a big contributor to this show, and he wants to get more involved in the show. And I said, great, Davey, let's talk. Guys, we're going to start doing a little bit of international coverage. And here's how we're going to do it. We're not going to talk about a specific race tonight, but on our website, ladies and gentlemen, what you want to do is here's our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Pete, like the new horses up there? Like it?
Looks good. I like it. Yeah,
it looks good.
Whoever
chestnut.
did that
I believe they're chestnut, I believe.
I went for two different colors, just a touch, just so they're not exactly the same. And they got the silks are a little bit off. Yeah, they're a little bit different. It's very subtle. Very subtle.
All right. Anyway, if you go to the More tab, everyone, go to the More tab on the right and look at the second one down. Follow the Jockey International Racing. So if you click on Follow the Jockey, ladies and gentlemen, we have a column from none other than my good friend of the show, Davey Lane. This is a picture of him at Ascot when I was with him. You can read it, everyone, but the long story short is Davey's big on international racing. And you know what, guys? Every weekend, I get like a text or something from Davey or like a picture of a betting, and he wins with these obscure horses that are running in like India and South America. And you know what? We have the ability to bet, guys. If you have like Twin Spires, or you do have the ability to bet a lot of races internationally. And there's some very good races, guys, that we don't cover, frankly, and we probably should. And he's big on jockeys. So this column follows well-known jockeys. Like, let's take an example, like Tom Marquand, the top jockey in the UK, who we've all heard of. And a lot of these jockeys, Paul, we only hear of like the Breeders' Cup. We need to educate ourselves. Not knowing Tom Marquand, Paul, is like a UK punter or handicapper not knowing who Tyler Gaffalione is. I mean, you got to pay attention. We got to become more worldly. We can't be so provincial. And I totally agree with Davey on that. So what Davey's going to do is he's going to highlight big races throughout the world on a weekend basis, but really put the focus on what particular jockeys are running in that race. Because a guy like for example, Joel Rosario is not going to run Rail and Roll last weekend at Saudi just for fun. He's obviously there for a reason, Paul. And Rail and Roll won at 4-1 last weekend in Saudi. We would have taken that in a heartbeat if we thought about it more or decided to play the race. So you can read it. What we'd really appreciate everyone to do, and if you want to get the link, there's live links that says there. Click the continue reading button there, and it will give you live links with replays. But we'd really like you to do after you read it is let us know. Do you like this idea? Would you be interested in betting some international races if you can bet them? So please comment through email or through our website and send us information. Davey's taking a lot of time to do this. I really like the idea. I'm going to be very honest, guys. We're going to do it in February only. We've got the Saudi Cup, coming up. We got there's big races this weekend that you can read about in here. And Pete's going to put analysis on here soon. I don't think it's there yet, right, Pete? But I didn't.
No, I'll probably do it either today.
There's going to be analysis. There's going to be analysis on that website as well of these races. If you like the idea, ladies and gentlemen, drop us a line. Let us know either way, because this is going to only be a monthly thing. Either we're going to do it. We're going to do it in the month of February. If it doesn't stick, we're probably going to discontinue it. So let us know, ladies and gentlemen, if you like the idea of Follow the Jockey. Again, go to our website, click on the More tab, go down to Follow the Jockey, and win some money overseas, Paul. I like the idea. We need to educate ourselves better.
Anyone want extra credit for knowing whom Tom Marquand is married to?
Is it Holly Doyle?
Very good, Unc.
Thank you. And Paul, no prep on that, right? It was totally out of the blue. So very good.
No, I'd like to have been sounded a little more confident, but not bad.
Well, I wasn't sure, but I was pretty sure. Anyway, so there you go.
She's very good. By the way, you better know her too. She's excellent.
Very good. Oh, I know Holly Doyle. Absolutely.
Oh, yep. She's terrific.
So check out Follow the Jockey, everyone. Okay, now, next thing before the rant. Guys, I won't say I made a mistake, but you know, I was thinking, I was looking at the calendar. You know what, guys? I missed something. We had our 4-year anniversary on January 19th. How about
No
that?
gifts.
We are
No
just
gifts.
no gifts. We are just over 4 years old. We're running around. We're past the terrible twos. We've doubled the terrible twos. We're almost at kindergarten. And so the first thing I want to say is congratulations to you guys and everyone on the podcast for our 4-year anniversary that just occurred about 2 weeks ago. And I thought, you guys know me, I tend to, reminisce, and I thought it'd be interesting to show two things, of which Pete and Paul have no idea what I'm going to show, and I'm getting it set up on the other screen right now. The sound should work fine. There's two videos that I want to show, gentlemen. One of them was with me and Matt Bernier, and I could suppose you could say this was the very, very genesis of this show. And you're going to see some bad audio and video, and well, you'll see what I mean. This is my last appearance on the Matt Bernier show, basically the day or two before the podcast started. This is January 19th, 2021. Myself and Matt Bernier, and well, just watch here in just a second. You'll find out why I'm bringing this very short clip on. And here it is, guys, right now. Let's play it.
Second choice, actually. I agree with everything you just said, for sure.
So there you have it. We're only going 1-7 in this race. And I got to be honest, there's a part of me that actually likes that, because now we're not going to have some triple-digit ticket out there. We're going to have things that are a little bit narrower. And again, if you're using it a million times
for YouTube,
I will contact you. Howard's been correct multiple times. I think even more than 3 times. You've just been unfortunate on some of the draws.
Yeah. And also, I want to say, Matt, I'm starting my own YouTube channel just for fun.
Oh, good.
Just type in Howard Kravets, Kravetts, in the search column for YouTube. I'm going to be handicapping pick 4s and pick 5 videos on there just to have for fun. I've mentioned you and the show, and In the Money also is another place to go. So just to have some fun with that, I'd love for people to subscribe to my YouTube channel and check it out.
Go check out Howard. You can tell that the man knows what he's talking about. He's been on here a million times. Now, granted, not that he being on this show means that he knows everything, but he's clearly picking winners left and right. So
there we go, guys. That was, let me take this off the screen here. So that's when I sort of introduced to the world. Pete, I know you watched the Matt Bernier show. We're not going to talk about it, but anyway. So I thought, hey, we'll just try it for fun. Well, for fun, guys, it's turned into a passion, and my life has changed in a very positive way. I've met a new family, to be very honest. You guys, everyone else, we've gone through some really awesome times, wins and funds and trips, and Kyle's wedding. We've been through some tough times, indirectly at least, with Pete and myself, but Paul, very directly for you, of course, with the Dorman family. And we've laughed, we've cried, we've done a lot of cool things together, guys. And as you previously mentioned, the other video I want to show, let me ask you guys a question. What happened in horse racing on April 26th, 2022? April 26th, 2022. Any guesses?
That'll be our first show, Pete.
I mean, that's the biggest thing
Gotta
ever in
be.
horse racing. So
You
I'll
think that's what it
second
was?
that.
Well,
Well,
I
I'll tell
remember
you what.
talking to you. I remember talking to you for the first time, as set up by Dr. Jeff Mora on Patriots Day 2022, which is usually around the 15th to the 19th. So,
well, episode 130, I did some research, was about my Keeneland trip, which you guys gave me a lot of crap about, rightly so, for like a year. Because of course, you know why, because I talked about Todd Trupp a lot, and I was on TVG at the time.
You
now
were?
FanDuel.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
I know, Pete. It's hard to believe, but I'll tell you what. Something else happened in that episode, and I presented something to the world, which I'm going to go ahead and bring up right now, guys. What happened in episode 130? Let's see here. Well, okay, here we go. Farm I'm going to bring on, and if Pete can hear me, Pete, I'm going to bring both you and our guest on right now, because I saw a horse at Claymore, and then I know one of the people that's about to come on is very interested. So let me just stop burying the lead. I have a very exciting announcement I'd like to make. I made the decision to have some co-hosts. I think it's very important for you folks to hear from more than one person. And I'm very excited to officially announce I'm bringing on 2 new co-hosts to the show that will become a much bigger part of the HHH Racing podcast. They've been on this show several times. They're 2 great guys. I feel very comfortable calling them good friends, even though I've yet to meet them in person. They're both from the East Coast. They're excellent handicappers. They both have great knowledge of the game. I want to bring on my 2 new co-hosts to the HHH Racing podcast, Pete Visco and Paul Halloran. Guys, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good, Howard. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Paul, how you doing?
We're playing Pete second, third, and fourth fiddle to Justify and Mendelssohn and American
That's
Pharoah.
okay.
That's okay.
That's okay.
By the way, guys, the check's in the mail. You'll be. There you go, guys.
That's awesome.
Has that check been received yet? By the way,
still waiting. I think maybe you forgot to put a stamp on it or something. I'm not sure what. I like my camera's a lot clearer now. I must have had an old computer back then because you can see our pretty faces a lot better now, right, Paul?
Well, you guys, as you guys have said, I mean, you've helped change the show, and I know this is going to make you feel especially good, Paul. You guys ready for this? I did more research. Look, I deep dive. I prepare for my shows, except for the first 15 seconds, apparently.
Right.
That was show 130. In the first 130 episodes, the HHH Racing podcast averaged 7.19 subscribers per show, or new subscribers per show, right? Since episode 130 and the arrival of Pete and Paul, and by the way, this was right before the Derby week as well. Since that point, in the successive shows, the HHH Racing podcast has improved up to 15 subscribers per show, more than doubled with Pete and Paul. All seriousness, gentlemen, love you guys. We've had a lot of fun. I hope it's been worth it to you. And let's have as many more shows in years that we can do this and want together. But it really has been a lot of fun. I thought you guys would appreciate that short clip.
That is awesome.
Very good. Very good.
I appreciate that. It's been great being on the show with you guys and getting our fantastic audience, which has been even better, getting this community built with such lively chat, and it makes it a lot more fun, I think, for all of us.
It sure has. Last thing, then we're going to get to Paul's rant and talk about that. Do you guys know the main topic of that show after you got, what was after what we just saw? Again, it was April 26th. What did we discuss? What was our main topic that you guys were on for?
Couldn't have been a Derby prep because that would have been too late.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a rundown of all the Kentucky Oaks horses. Sort of a preview of the Kentucky Oaks. We all disliked the Secret Oath, by the way, that won the race. And Paul on the show said he was going to play either in jest or for fun the big Rayleigh Oaks Derby double that year, which was hidden connection into Barber Road. That didn't work too well for you, Paul. Sorry.
No, but
Barber Road came through for you.
Barber Road paid it back in spades.
Yes, Barber Road got you that one. Got you. What was the Keeneland? What is it called?
The Grade 1 Gamble.
Grade 1 Gamble. Yes, Barber Road.
Matt said money. Matt said this is awesome. Jim said, "Who the heck was that young, good-looking guy with Matt Bernier?" That couldn't have been me. I don't know what the hell he was talking about there. Thomas Espinoza. Hi, I was watching this show. He's talking about episode 130 when you announced the two.
No, he was talking about you and Bernier. He was talking about you.
Oh, I'm sorry, me and Matt Bernier. What media thought was that takes guts. Look at you now, Howard. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know what the hell I was doing. You could tell by the sound in the video, and people might say the same thing tonight. But anyway, Rob Capalbo, double epic, great history there. Anyway, thanks a lot for all the good wishes. All right, guys, we have an important thing to talk about, and some of the stuff is messed up here with the graphics, Paul. So I'm not going to do anything fancy here. But
no,
look,
don't need it.
Something very big happened last weekend at the Pegasus, and we're going to talk about it very quickly. Let me just say this for everyone, and I hope everyone's listening very carefully. My opinions are not always the same as Pete and Paul, and Pete's opinions and Paul's opinions are not the official opinions of the HHH Racing podcast. I think everyone can agree that we've had bosses and people at the corporate heads up that we don't like or get along with, and most of us in our adult workplaces. San Anita is a fantastic partner of the podcast, but not of this show. They are sponsoring Great Race Plays, which is why we can, let's just say, be a little more bold or pronounced with our thoughts, although we will still be very professional as always. People ask me, guys, after Arlington closed, why are you covering Churchill? Look, I'm forever going to be upset with Churchill Downs Incorporated because of what they did to my beloved Arlington Park. Paul, I know you feel the same way for Suffolk, and Pete, maybe you'll feel the same way for Laurel a little bit, whatever. That doesn't mean we can't support the racing and the great people and the employers that are underneath them. People at San Diego, like Andrew Arthur, who's the director there of marketing, who gave us this opportunity. Jeff Chapman, who's I'm a big fan of, and at Churchill Downs, people like Joe Christofek, who's going to be on with us next week, guys. So and everyone in between, all the media relations people at Churchill and people that have been good to us. So for me, just speaking for me, I can separate some of the corporate decisions with some of the employees underneath them that I think are great people that work really hard, and maybe they don't always agree necessarily about what their higher ups are doing, but you know what? They have families to feed. They have jobs to do, and they're going to do them. So Paul's going to talk about what Belinda Stronach had to say, I believe, and the Gulfstream situation. And I'm not going to comment on anything until after what Paul says. But again, Paul, the floor is yours, and of course, your thoughts are specifically of yours and not necessarily, or might be, but not necessarily ones of the podcast. Paul, please rant away, sir.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of talk, obviously, in the last few weeks since the whole decoupling issue. And I would encourage people to listen to Aidan Butler's podcast with Nick Luck. Nick Luck, of course, is as good as they get. And I'm a big fan of Aidan Butler, and I believe he was pretty straightforward. My issue with what Belinda said on TV last week, and I heard something yesterday that would affect this, because in all honesty, I wasn't really that pleased with our friend Brittany for not challenging her. But I believe, if I heard correctly, that First bought the airtime on NBC for NBC to broadcast that, which means they were in effect partners, which would explain Brittany allowing Belinda's remarks to go unchallenged. And what Belinda Stronach said, if you read between the lines, look, at Gulfstream is going away, okay? And we don't have to like that, and we don't like it. We do have to respect and acknowledge that she's a business person, and she owns a big company. And with Gulfstream Park, she owns probably one of the most valuable pieces of property in the state of Florida. And it is entirely her prerogative to sell that property today, tomorrow, 3 years from now, or hold on to it. But to try to spin it, and remember, that's what I do for a living. I spin things for people. Into trying to get us to believe that all of a sudden Gulfstream is not a good location for horse racing because horses don't like being in a, quote, dense urban setting. That, two things on that. One, as I pointed out on Twitter, the old and new Belmont Park and Aqueduct all sit off the Grand Central, okay, which is a fairly densely traveled road, okay, across Bronx Grand Center. You know what I'm saying? It's just a little insulting to our intelligence. Look, do what you want with the property. Hopefully, the Gulfstream resurrects somewhere else. But this notion that all of a sudden that location, where they've been running races for, 50, 60, 70 years, isn't suitable for horse racing is patently foolish. And if I would think it's something that you'd get out of PETA talking points. And, I hate to bring it up, but when all the problems at Santa Anita happened, Belinda thought it was a good idea to bring PETA to the table. Now, I don't question her intentions. And to Santa Anita's credit, they've done a phenomenal job improving that record. They had a bad run. Churchill had a bad run a few years ago. So I don't question her intentions at all. I think anyone thinking bringing Peter to the table has a 1% chance of being successful is extraordinarily misguided, and we all know that. So again, I hope Gulfstream shows up somewhere else, Hialeah, Payson Park, Palm Beach, whatever. And it is entirely First Racing's right to do what they want. But please save us the insulting, it's not a good space for horse racing, because that's a pile of horse poop. And that's all.
Pete, quick thoughts. I'll give a quick thought, then we got to wrap it up because we got great race plays in 14 minutes. But I'm gonna delay it 5 minutes. But go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, no, I don't really have to add too much. I think Paul said it perfectly. I think that all people ask for is just give me some honesty. And there's some honesty that could be given. And I know people don't want to give everything away, but you can't tell something to the public and to the horse racing public that they know is patently false and expect people to believe it. Just be honest. Say, here's what your intentions are. And even if you said, look, like Paul said, this is just really high value property and having the track on it isn't beneficial from a corporate and business standpoint. So we need to try and maybe come up with something different. Nobody can argue against that. There's no argument against that because like Paul said, it's a business and they're in it for money. They're not in it necessarily. That's business always comes money first, no matter what your intentions are. So I think honesty and transparency is just what people look for and not to be talked to like we're stupid children who don't know any better.
Well said. I don't really much to add. I think, I'm sure it didn't come across very well. I know for a fact, guys, that some of the employees at San Anita have had a little bit of a rough week, and I get it, right? I mean, it was not a good look. I have faith. I'm a bit of an optimist. I have faith they're going to work something out. We shall see what's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be a Hialeah or whatever, but I know that was not a great look. Unfortunately for them last weekend, for Belinda, I guess I shouldn't really speak for First Racing in general, but we will continue to support San Anita. They've been great to us. Like I said, to me, it's much more than one person, right? This is much more about an owner or owners. There's great people that work at San Anita, and we're proud to be partnering up with them, and hopefully we will continue to do so. I want to thank everyone for watching and bearing with some of the issues with the tech. And believe it or not, guys, I do not have our closing montage. I can't get it up for some reason, so we're just going to be ending the show without music and everything else. We appreciate everyone watching. Great Race Plays is in 15 minutes. 15. What happened? Someone in the chat?
No, nothing. I assume Paul is thinking the same thing I was. It's a personal problem that we don't want to get into.
Matt Miller, Pete, is on the floor in Chicago.
There is no doubt about that. You don't even know what you said, Howard. Matt, write it in the text chain of what he said and why it was funny.
They're going blue again, just like the color on the screen. Thanks for watching, everyone. It's episode 391 of a very interesting little trip down memory lane of picks and ponies. Crush your bets on Withers Day. Come on, Uncle Jim. Do it for me one time at Aqueduct. Take care, everyone. Great race plays coming up in 15 minutes. Have a great night. Bye-bye.